actually going to close that. I do want to talk a little bit about what I've been doing in Celestia. Usually, Saturdays, I would talk about Celestia and work on it some. I have finished, in the meantime, all the archetypes. Basically, the classes. All the classes now exist. Oh, archetype packs. I do have them here. I just haven't actually listed them. I didn't think I added them yet. But yeah, all the fighter types, the hybrids, and the spellcasters are all here. I made one new type. This is the Chanter. Chanters basically replace the musical part and the spell casting part of bards, without the knowledge part. If you've seen it before, you know I have the Sage. The Sage is the one that gets Sage knowledge, which is basically the equivalent of bardic knowledge. They're a skill monkey. They do get spells. There is spell casting involved. But they are a half caster. And they get 5th level spells at level 15. So, yeah. Even they, by the way, are better than Warlocks. They get some really interesting things at higher levels. In fact, they get magical secrets, which was part of what I was just talking about with having to figure out how to do that. Because that's basically getting 1 6th level spell slot and 1 7th level spell slot for a specific spell. And I really had to work to balance this out. But Chanters, on the other hand, they are magically closer to, like, sorcerers, wizards, and mystics. They, in fact, do have 10 levels of spell complexity, though for them, it's songs. Obviously, they get Spellsinging, and they get a song pool. Basically, and this doesn't really matter until they get composition at 5th level, but their song pool limits the active songs they can have. There's a very long list of spell songs. A very long list. And it's going to be even bigger. But they sing a song. There is no spell slots. The only limit is basically the the song pool. The song pool is like concentration. At the start, they can only sing 1 low-level song. And the higher the complexity of song, the more space it takes in their song pool. At 5th level, they get composition. And with composition, they can combine songs together. So, they could choose to do 1 high-level song, or should I say, very complex song, or several lower-level ones. So they can sing like a heroic dirge and give everyone advantage on saving throws against being frightened. They do get screams, by the way, which are attacks. It's one of the 10-meter cone for a 1st level slot. They don't get cantrips, all their spells are sort of like cantrips. So, Thunderous Scream, by the way, is one of the few that are not really concentration, but they effectively take the whole turn to do this. And it's basically Thunderwave, but as a scream, which is just basically a term for instant effect songs that don't carry over from one round to another. But they can do a lot of minor things mostly. They are upcastable, just like spells. So you can make a lower level song more complex to increase the benefits. But it gets up to some very impressive ones around level 4 with Allegro, which is basically haste. It's 4th level rather than 3rd because the effects tend to be a little more limited for chanters than they are for wizards, but there are 10 levels of complexity. In particular, at 10th level, they get Deathly Dirge, which can be used against a single target. That single target needs to save, or the intense sorrow or incredible joy the song inflicts on them puts them at 0 health and has them enter the dying state. Which is actually something I should probably talk about. That was a big change I recently did. I'll talk about that in half a sec. But even if you don't, even if you pass the save, you are dazed for several rounds. At least 2, as many as 8, so almost a full minute. This is very strong, hence why it's 10th level. It's pretty close to Finger of Death as far as the effect. So, pretty strong. I worked on game mechanics a bit, and I laid out some more information about health and healing, what death and dying is like, hit dice or health dice, whichever way you want to call those. I don't know why 5e still calls them hit dice. There's really not much point to calling them hit dice. They were hit dice in the old days for a very particular reason, and they haven't been that since 2nd edition. But we still use the term. Mostly, I just call them HD. But, so, death and dying. When you lose all your health, you are now dying. When dying, you only have 1 action in your action pool, and each turn you bleed, losing a hit dice or health dice roll of health. You can stop the bleeding by making a medicine check if you have a medical kit or can improvise one, or if you have some way to heal yourself back above 0 health. You also have to make a death save, or you become unconscious. Yes, they don't want to change some things, and yet they utterly change others. Anyway, the difficulty of the save starts at 10 and increases by 1 per turn while you're dying. When you die when your health goes to the negative version of your maximum health. So if you have 22 HP, you die at negative 22. I like this system of dying. You don't immediately go unconscious anymore at 0 HP. You can still sort of do something, but you know you're critically injured. In fact, either the internal or external bleeding is now so bad that you take damage every turn, even if you're not hit by anything. Which means you need to get medical attention immediately. And every single turn, it's harder and harder to stay conscious. So, you could fall unconscious, or you could bleed to death. Both are totally options. There are no more true death saves, like there are in 5e. There's no 3 strikes and you're out sort of death saves. Someone has to give you some sort of medical attention, either yourself or someone else, or you die. I need to test this, but I like the feel. It's a lot more realistic. It's a little bit shorter than like conventional, like bleeding out in like a car accident, for instance. I've been in enough car accidents to know exactly how that feels. But you're woozy, you're bleeding out, you need immediate medical attention. But you can still do things until you pass out. You could roll really bad, and then your allies definitely need to help. Or you could roll really good, and resist for quite a while. Hopefully, you have some medical supplies on hand and can patch yourself up at least enough to stabilize yourself. But yeah. This, by the way, also affects the yo-yo effect. Lots of clerics won't heal you until you go down. Because mathematically, it makes more sense to bring you back from 0 HP to health. Here, no. You need to heal them and keep them from getting to 0 health. Because once they're at 0 health, it's totally negative. So here's the thing. You have to heal yourself back above 0 health. So, the cleric imitation in Celestia can't just heal you and expect you to pop back up. Maybe the first turn you're down. But that next turn, the first one where you start to bleed and take a HD roll of bleeding damage, you are potentially going to bleed out very quick. And it's going to be harder and harder to bring you to 0 health. They do still have one action, remember, when they're dying. So, they still can do something. They can run away. Well, move away. Running is not an option with one action. You need 2 to dash. So, It's a little bit more harsh in some ways, but someone could pull themselves out of a fight and bandage themselves up. Also, you stop losing, how do I want to put it? There are gonna be spells that can stabilize you, so you're not bleeding anymore. I don't have those in so far. I changed this rule. I haven't got to this spell because it wasn't needed as part of the spell before. But there are going to be versions of healing spells that get the ability to stop you from bleeding, even if they don't get you back above 0 health. You're still going to be dying unless... how do I want to put it? Unless you're back above 0 health. But you're not gonna die without taking some external damage. It makes healing more critically important. So, I like the feel. I need to definitely test it. When you're at higher level, this is gonna be a very big pool of health. So, another thing I did in Celestia, Ancestries, basically the race in D&D, gives you a certain amount of health. I'll show you that real quick. Oops. So, human, for instance, gives you a D8 of health. At first level only. So, you get your D8 and say you are, let's say you're a Chanter. You're a human Chanter. That gives you a D8 for your class. So, even if you don't have any extra Constitution modifier, you're probably gonna have 16 health to start. So, first level characters are gonna be a little bit beefier. One hit will probably not kill you. This is a little bit different for some particular ancestries. Ones like Nornans, the equivalent of dwarves and halflings combined into one. They're hardier. They get a D10, so they get 10 base hit points besides their class. They tend to be very tanky. Minos, the Minotaur-like race, are even tankier, having a D12. Minos barbarians, or rather destroyers, are just beefy, even at level 1. At level 1, they typically have a minimum of 24 HP. So, yeah, even a critical hit would probably not take down a destroyer like that. But let's use our example. 16 basic health. Let's make you, well, actually scratch the 16. Let's make you level 7. So 8 times, well, let's give him the average. We're gonna give him the average for this, so 5 times 6. So 30 plus 16 at the start. At level 7, without any con modifier, you have 46 HP. With average rolls. And you're only going to lose a d8 per turn in bleeding. So if we average that at 5, you have about 9 turns until you bleed out. Technically 10. You have just enough HP that in the negatives, it would take you an entire minute to bleed out with an average roll. I mean, if you do good, you could easily last until the end of an encounter. But with this system, you still get 1 action during all that negative part. You could bandage yourself up. You could block more damage coming in from enemies. You could move farther away. Heck, you could clobber the enemy if you just wanted to keep fighting, which would definitely be a thing if you were a destroyer. In fact, oops. Oh, I totally got rid of a page I should not have. Yeah, I shouldn't have clicked that. Oops, you were in the wrong place now. Hang on, I'm trying to put it back. I think that's right. So, if you were a destroyer, you're D12. It would be a very weird destroyer not to have some sort of con modifier, because they're basically the equivalent of barbarians. Say you're a Minos, so you have oops. Yeah, I can type. Anyway, you start with 24. We're gonna say, for whatever reason, you just don't invest in Constitution. You are apparently a very stupid destroyer. Especially since you get more uses of your martial techniques with more con. So, but let's say you're level 7. So that's 7 times 6. So 42 plus 24. You have 66 health. And you get Rage, which gives you temporary HP, which won't help you when you're dying. But if this is your health, you have twice that. Basically, you get 66 temp HP to match your 66 HP when you enter Rage. And you gotta be put to a negative 66. So, someone has to do 198 damage to you to take you out. Of course, the bleeding will really start to impact you later on. But that's almost 200 health to get through. And usually they're in heavy armor, which is going to make a lot of hits into little nicks. So, a destroyer is amazing. Amazing as a tank. As an example, to do the same thing as a Lancer, they don't make that sort of tank. Instead, what you do is you take a fighting style that gives you block. Like sword and board style. Which actually gives you parry and block. shield block. So, that would let you be very reactionary and just take no damage for a lot of hits. Shield block is very strong. So is parry, but not as much. Shield block is way better. It's a lot more like aggressive parry. They do take a reaction though, but because this is Celestia, you can do more than one reaction. It just eats into that pool of 4 actions you can take a turn. So, you don't got that sort of HP, but you can keep tanking the damage over and over. You're just not as offensive while you do it, usually. Of course, you could also get other techniques in here. You could instead do a disarming strike and take their weapon. Or trip them and knock them prone. Or put them in an arm lock so they can't attack you. There are lots of options. Lots of options. But on a pure HP basis, destroyers, bar none, are the strongest. There is a spellblade called the Arcane Berserker. They get a spell, a unique spell, which is technically an ability, but it is classed as a spell, which makes them almost as strong. Not as strong, but closer. But they're a close second. A close second. But yeah, that's what I've been doing. I like those systems. We need to test them. I will announce now. We are working on another Celestia campaign. I don't know when I'm going to fit it in. It's going to act as a test campaign. If you've ever seen it, it's going to be a version of a really old advanced D&D module called Blade of Vengeance. I'm going to update it to Celestia. A few more modern takes as well. It is the tale of a elf, or maybe a half-elf. We're not sure what specific ancestry the main character is going to be for this. Who gets to at least start the adventure all on their own as they come back to their house, which is burning down, with monsters having ravaged their entire family. And they have to go on a quest to, of course, defeat the monsters and save their homeland. Mostly by themselves. So, a lot of the others that are going to be part of this series are going to play NPC roles, or at least what were NPCs before. For our purposes, I'll have guests on to do certain roles. They're going to get to play them as if they were a player character, at least while they're there. Some might get talked into joining our hero, others not. So, it should be kind of interesting. It's also going to be a test. We are going to use all of the existing Celestia rules when we start it. 5e will only be used as filler. So, yeah. It's gonna be big. Big. Yeah. So, look forward to that. It's probably still about a month away. Though my birthday is exactly 1 month away. So, probably either before my birthday or after my birthday. I'm not sure which way. But, I think that pretty much covers everything I wanted to talk about today. You have an example of all the stuff I've been working on for Celestia. And we went over the playtest 5 for 1D&D. So, with that, I'm gonna find someone for us to raid. And I'm gonna make dinner. In fact, Melissa is also streaming right now. So, we're gonna raid Melissa. Alright. So, yeah. Tomorrow for me is Celestia, the original campaign. It's at 9 p.m. EST. Look forward to that. It's usually a fun time. They're currently going through a dungeon based on a classic 5e module. So, my own take on it, though. Totally my own take. And they just started using the Celestia Action Economy. So, they've taken their first step to moving towards my own RPG system. And I think they did pretty well with it. So, that said, it's time for me to head out. So, have fun, take care, and I'll see you later. Bye.